Is it a bird? Is it a drone? Is it a plane? It's probably just another psyop.
I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. That's the skyline over there. I'm gonna see if I can film this. It keeps showing up outside. Look at that. Look at that. I'm gonna try to zoom in on this. Oh my gosh, do you see that? What the bro. I've seen it all over TikTok now. I'm
Yeah, it's probably a psyop. It's probably a fake AI video, as a lot of them are circulating the internet right now, as some clips are real, though, like this one coming from Moscow, as now it looks like there's an explanation to what was actually going on here, as we have Dr. Stephen Greer coming out and saying some really important things, specifically when it comes to a lot of this, quote, alleged alien craft and psyops, as of course he goes after Avi Loeb, who just, by the way, a few minutes ago was on and published a podcast with the one and only Joe Rogan. Now, we'll get into all of this, as of course there's some serious discussion, especially around 30i Atlas and nuclear testing sites and facilities where we have been reporting to you there's a lot of UFO phenomenons. UAPs, unidentified flying objects, things that don't make sense, as now there are multiple government officials coming from different governments all around the world saying, hey, yeah, anytime there's a nuclear facility, it looks like these people are type of potentially interdimensional objects or creatures or advanced military tech are somehow drawn to them. What in the world is really going on here? We're going to do our best to try to answer that question and a lot more here on this independent media outlet, as of course we have to delve through a lot of nonsense, a lot of insanity, a lot of hooey and bullcrap. And if you appreciate our efforts, subscribe, click the notification button, as we greatly appreciate all the time that, of course, you spend with us. As this clip, probably AI generated, that we played in the beginning of this video, probably the same with this clip, as of course, it looks like that's just a drone with LED lights flashing on it. But this clip right here, first, you know, when you're seeing these types of videos, you're like, oh, that's fake. And then it's like, wait, hold on. This one actually isn't. And there's a very interesting explanation, as we played this video yesterday. And it was, quote, a mysterious green fireball that went over Moscow, as people were questioning, what is this? Is it a meteor? Is it aliens? Is it missiles? Is it 30i Atlas now sending one of their probes? Well, it looks like the answer is a lot of a simpler explanation than what a lot of people think it is. As of course, people are saying it is a cosmic object coming from space, but people are saying with how low speed it was, how bright it was, and how clean of a burn it was, it looks like that it is, quote, space junk re-entering the atmosphere, quote, likely a chunk of satellites or rocket stages. Now, the Russians have been utilizing a lot of advanced space tech, as they have space weapons. The United States started to start their Space Force as well. The Chinese are working on this. There's also a new moon race now. Again, that's weird. That's interesting how, of course, that happens here. And satellites sometimes fall out of the sky. Some scientists are warning that Elon Musk's Starlink satellites are falling at a quicker rate than a lot of them expected to. Some of these devices are low orbit, and some of them just somehow fall down. As people are saying, the green hue coming from this video comes from the metal vaporizing at 20,000 miles per hour, and it put on a show. As that seems like a more kind of likely explanation than the, quote, alien invasion. As one of the people that has been talking about this for a very long time is Dr. Stephen Greer. He just came out with a very interesting video 21 hours ago in the making of this particular video saying this.
They couldn't believe that we would shoot at something potentially millions of years more advanced than us. Why are we shooting at UFOs?
Yeah, we shot Hellfire missiles, right? It's like, U.S. government, what are you doing? Hellfire missiles? Really? At like advanced alien tech that we can't quantify and understand? Oh, we don't understand. Let's just blow it up. That sounds like a great idea. Let's start a intergalactic space war. Yeah. Especially with the kind of unknown kind of tech here that, when exploded, could cause more of a severe response than a lot of people expect it to have.
Lack of information has also resulted in some disastrous situations where we have fired on peaceful ET craft.
You just released kind of jaw-dropping information about the Boogosphere. I don't know how excited I should be. Basically, I'm going to summarize, and please take it from there and give the audience the details they need to know.
There's a very clear distinction between a man-made UFO and how it can respond versus an interstellar one. And I'm going to go through this in the Gaiosphere in November so that people understand when they have an encounter or a sighting, how do you distinguish between
what is alien, what is man-made? He's talking about the TikTok later on in that video. The TikTok alien phenomenon to allegedly be a piece of Lockheed Martin advanced military tech. Now, looking at this stuff, it does explain a lot of the kind of secret black budgets and a lot of the projects that we're not privy to, as of course the military-industrial complex does a lot of weird stuff. As even the Germans in the 1930s were working on saucers. Now, we'll talk about the scientific connection with these kind of entities and things over nuclear sites. And then Stephen Greer also had some very kind of interesting assertions to make about Avi Loeb, which a lot of people are pointing to potentially being a psyop. We'll talk about that and a lot more. But before we do, we wanted to, of course, tell you about wearechange.shop. One of our second best-selling supplements is Essential Fatty. It's made from small fish like sardines. A lot of big fish have a lot of heavy metals, mercury, and parasites in them. We source our fish oil from small fish, and there's a lot of very interesting studies, specifically with smokers, and the benefits that they get from fish oils. Do your own homework before putting anything into your own body. But if you're a smoker, this is the time to do your kind of due diligence and do your homework on omega-3 fish oils and the correlation of what happens when people smoke. You shouldn't smoke. You should, of course, try to live a healthy, holistic lifestyle. But when you take your omega-3s, you should take it with a meal, preferably with fat. As I just typed in omega-3 into Twitter, and this is what people are saying. We have Dr. Alexander Niculescu on Twitter. I don't even know who this person is, to be quite honest, who says omega-3 fatty acids, such as in fish oil capsules, are the most underutilized nutraceutical preventative in psychiatry. For brain health in general. A lot of patients match to them when we do our biomarker testing across disorders, inexpensive in quotes, and actually, quote, good for physical health. Now, this is what he says. But again, before doing anything, just make sure you do your own due diligence. Dan Go here on Twitter says, for supplements, I'm getting my aging parents to take creatine. That's number one. Also available on wearechange.shop. That's our number one selling supplement. Our second best selling supplement is the omega-3s. We also have magnesium glycinate available in our store, and we're working on a new supplement that's going to be out in just a little bit. Wearechange.shop, your number one stop for all great research and start of investigations that you should do for your own personal health, since there's a war on for your health. Now, we're getting a lot of very interesting articles talking about how a lot of these UFO sightings are around nuclear weapons tests, as there are now multiple people. Marco Rubio came out and says, yeah, these weird craft are over our nuclear facilities, reiterating what the governor of Louisiana said just a few months ago that we, of course, were talking about here, as he kind of blurted out when the governors were first meeting with Donald Trump, saying, hey, these UFOs are weird. They're going over our nuclear facilities. As in Denmark, there are other reports of similar activities happening in the region, saying, yeah, we don't know why, but these are not consumer drones. They're able to evade detection. They're able to evade anti-drone tech. They're able to avoid missile defense systems. And they're able to penetrate some of the most secure, some of the most important sites. And then they're able to leave and then not be tracked or traced. As, of course, Zelensky and Macron, the leaders of Ukraine and France, were saying, it's Russia doing this. And then they captured a Russian freight ship. And then they were like, oh yeah, nothing here. Sorry. As now, a team of scientists is claiming that it has found strong empirical support for the validity of this UAP phenomenon that happens amongst nuclear weapons tests. Yep, for the first time, a team of scientists have found a statistically significant correlation between historical UAP reports and nuclear weapons tests. Now, the Russians, by the way, just did a new weapons test. I'm going to do a separate video about that because they're talking about having cruise missiles with nuclear warheads on it that continue to fly because they're nuclear powered missiles that literally could fly indefinitely, right? And then if ever given an order or directions, then they'll go and land wherever they need to land. As of course they fly in low orbit, are very difficult, if not impossible, to stop here. Now let's continue on with this article, as the Daily Mail also decided to write about this, saying evidence of non-human intelligence activity near U.S. nuclear sites gains scientific validation. Yep, there's something correlated with this, as thousands of objects sent by a non-human intelligence may have been spying on the world's nuclear tests all the way back in the 1940s. A groundbreaking study has just been published proving verified evidence that something or someone was observing our nuclear sites from space long before the first human satellites were ever launched into orbit. Dr. Beatrice Vallerola from the Nordic Institute of Theoretical Physics in Sweden revealed a clear connection between nuclear tests between 1949 and 1957 and an increase in a number of mysterious bright spots called transients appearing in the sky. These transients are not believed to be natural phenomenons, with Villeroy saying that they showed signs of being highly reflective like a mirror and even spinning like a flying saucer. The publication of these findings was a major milestone, as most papers discussing the existence of unidentified anomalous phenomenons, UAPs, are rejected by the scientific community. Having the work successfully peer-reviewed means other scientists have looked over the data and could not find anything to dismiss the team's findings as just another unproven story about UFOs. Overall, researchers discovered that the mysterious transients were 45% more likely to be spotted flying overhead just before or right after a nuclear test. These are objects before Sputnik 1, when humans had nothing up there. And these things, no matter what they are, they need to be really flat, reflected like a mirror, and I personally don't know anything natural that looks like that, Visceral said. Yeah. That's the weird type of correlation here that now is continuing in an ever so type of weird phenomenon way, as there are now, and this is the scientific report here, there are now multiple reports and even high-ranking government officials. I talked to the former Canadian Minister of Defense, but there's also a lot of other big high-ranking members of the government and military that have come out and said, yeah, we were very close to blowing each other up, and then aliens like literally intervened and stopped that from happening. Now, if you're an interdimensional life force or you're an alien life force and you want to make sure that the people you're co-inhabiting with don't blow themselves up, you're going to be keeping an eye on a lot of these nuclear tests and explosions. As of course, a lot of people theoretically were also talking about how some of these nuclear explosions could end Earth many times over. Yeah, that would be interesting for Beborp and other scientists to look into and delve into. As right now, everyone's attention is on 30I Atlas, as people are saying that it might potentially pick up speed after going behind the sun. We're going to see if it does or if it does not. Now, Stephen Greer had some very interesting things to say about the main doctor, the main type of theoretical physicist that came out with a lot of these assertions from Harvard, Avi Loeb. Now, I still haven't been able to watch, like this interview just came out in the making of this particular video, so I haven't been able to watch the 2 hours and 14 minutes of podcast between the two. But here's what Stephen Greer had to say 4 days ago about Avi Loeb.
That he's connected to is a very prominent disinformation, gaslighting operation. So I'm pretty sure that anything from those quarters, I would look at very skeptically, particularly when it begins to track towards a threat from outer space. Remember, This is what Werner von Braun on his deathbed told my dear friend Carol Rosen, who was his right-hand assistant in 1974, that over a period of decades, they would roll out this alien threat to sort of unite the world around sort of a totalitarian, militaristic...
A one world government. A lot of people are talking about Blue Beam as that kind of being one of the potential programs and operations that would, in fact, scare the crap out of people. And listen, there's a very interesting kind of response, because I feel like the skeptics, the conspiracy theorists have won. Everyone's skeptical of everything. Something happens, a major event, people are like, yeah, I don't believe it. People, for many years, like myself, have been talking about aliens. I've been talking about aliens for like 20 years. I've been fascinated by aliens. I've been doing research. I've been talking to some of the top researchers in this particular field. And now, me and a lot of other people are like, it sure does look like the government's trying to get us to really care about aliens now, when they clearly were obfuscating it. Now, it looks like they're promoting it, which makes you question, what in the world's going on here?
Dystopia that would be looking at anything from space as a threat that we should fight, which would then build military and intelligence spending. And that whole scheme was concocted in about 1953, 54. And we have documents in our archive to prove it. If you go to this DPIarchive.com, it's the Disclosure Project Intelligence Archive. There's terabytes of data in there. We put everything in, except sensitive stuff that had names and sources that we can't disclose. And it clearly goes through what that whole objective has been, all the way tracking for the last 70 years, since the early to mid 50s. So I think that I would look at it I look at these things very skeptically, particularly when it becomes an internet zeitgeist of hysteria, and we're being...
And it is, as of course a lot of people were saying, that this was a many-year kind of psychological operation, that this is an ongoing psychological operation, specifically by scientists from Harvard. And personally, I don't have the best things to say about Harvard. It's pretty much like the intel agency satellite, where even Jeffrey Epstein had his own offices at Harvard. We're talking about Larry Summers and other very kind of not good people running those type of institutions. And for me, it's just kind of a satellite for the intel agencies. Now, are the intel agencies running the psyop through Avi Loeb? I don't know. Personally, when looking and hearing at some of the theories that Avi Loeb has kind of talked about, it definitely does look like he's more willing to take risks than what a lot of scientists are usually willing to do. I personally kind of like that, but I haven't delved into his background or his history. And Stephen Greer really does kind of bring something up that is definitely, I think, worth pontificating and thinking about, and taking a moment just to reflect on personally.
Invaded. Maybe this is what the drone stuff, right? And you remember last year at this time, and all the drone stuff in New Jersey we were never told the truth about that. And then it's just happening now in Europe, and people are like, it's Russia. It doesn't look like it's Russia. Stuff, and it was a psyop. All of those were man-made. We know who were doing it. I know the head of a team that was doing reconnaissance of them out of Lockheed Skunk Works. And it was to see how the media and the public would react and how much hysteria in the White House and in Congress they could create. Look, this is the oldest game in the intelligence playbook. And of course, the problem with, let's just say, retail ufology and pop culture is that there's not any depth of intelligence analysis
or hindsight, or thinking who benefits, who really is going to be getting and reaping the things that help them. And I think that's an important mindset to have. What do you think? Do you think this is a psyop? Do you think this is a legitimate phenomenon that is becoming too big to stop? What do you think? Let me know down in the comment section below. Press 1 if you think it's a psyop. Press number 2 if you don't think it's a psyop. It's all coming out. Let me know what you think. I love you guys. I'm going to be here if it wasn't for you guys doing your own homework. Trying to take care of your health and be the best, strongest, most amazing version of yourselves. This is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more, all here exclusively on youtube.com/wearejames.